There are two reasons why Iran is targeting assets in the Gulf regions, and the media is not really explaining it. The way that Iran sees this is that they need to do two things to stop the attacks by the US and Israel on Iran. The first one is to degrade the military capability of the US and Israel. And the way they see it is that without the help from the Gulf states, where they're supporting and facilitating those attacks on Iran, US and Israel would not be able to strike Iran. The first thing is that the Iranians see that the airspace of the Gulf countries are being used to attack Iran. And number two, when even Israel sends its jets to do those attacks, they don't have enough fuel to go all the way to Iran and come back. There has to be air fuel tankers that meet them halfway to refuel the jets so that they can do that return. Those air fuel tankers are based in those Gulf countries, and the refueling is happening in those Gulf countries. We can see from Flight Radar that the airspace is being used by these jets, and these fuel tankers are fueling in the airspace of the Gulf countries. And those fuel tankers that refuel the jets are also based in the Middle East, as has been provided by the Chinese, indicating what airplanes, where they're based, and a lot of them are based in the Gulf countries. On top of that, the US has about 50,000 US military around the Gulf countries. But it turns out also that to protect the US personnel, the Americans have moved a lot of US personnel from those US bases in hotels, which is why the Iranians are saying they're attacking certain hotels that are housing these US personnel. And this was actually confirmed by the US, where it said CIA personnel were injured in hotels in the Middle East. On top of it, US Central Command has published photos of them using the ground in the desert in some Gulf countries to launch missiles into Iran. They're also here showing launches from the desert into Iran. That is US military degradation. The second thing that the Iranians are trying to do is US economic degradation. How do they do that? Well, all the petrol that comes out of the Gulf, which equals to around $1 trillion a year, goes back into the US. That's the power of the dollar being the reserve currency. When they sell goods, they have to sell the goods in dollars. They don't keep those US dollars in the Gulf countries. They reinvest it back into the US financial system and buy US debt, which means that the US government can borrow very cheaply and can use that trillions of dollars into buying US military equipment and producing weapons. And so if Iran stops those trillions of dollars going into those US weapon purchases by closing the Strait of Hormuz, then they can put pressure on the US government to limit its military production capability. They also want to create a deterrent. So when Israel attacked the gas infrastructure of Iran, Iran said that if that happens, we're going to attack the infrastructure of the Gulf countries, especially those that have US investments in those assets. It believes this is a good idea, is that it creates a deterrence from future attacks on its infrastructure, which is actually what happened. Because when they did that, Trump went on Truth Social and said Israel acted incorrectly by attacking the infrastructure. They're not going to do this again.